So I'm not walking my talk. I'm the only tens guys. I'm the guy who you only do one, two, or three things that are the most important things in your heart on your day, with the consequences that you want to avoid or the reward that you want kind of guy. So I am the you don't have a time management problem. You have an honesty problem guy. I am the I help busy executives get out of overwhelm guy, and I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm having lots of trouble with my ADD, if I want to call it. I'm just having trouble focusing these days. I know exactly what I want to do. I have the plan for 2021. I have my tens. I know what I want to do, but just really, really, really distracted these days, and I'm having a bit of trouble. And I was joking with my partner that it's I'm not the guy who's perfect, who does his tens perfectly, who has his attention perfect. I'm the guy who knows how to get back to being on purpose. I'm the guy who knows how to fall off the wagon and get back on the wagon kind of guy. So that's, I think, a unique thing for myself. So, I've been having trouble lately with all the news and the compelling things that are going on in the world. And I started rereading a book called Indistractable: How to Control Your Attention and Choose Your Life by Nyr Eyal. I'm going to try and get Nyr on my podcast to talk to you. Really incredible book. He actually was in the tech world and was one of the people who helped create the little red dots that make us like lab rats to go look at the news. And he wrote a book about how to get free from that, how to use technology rather than having technology use you, how to use technology as a tool rather than being the product that they consume. Uh, so so I'm reading this book and really kind of confronting myself on the things that I normally do that I haven't been doing lately. One of them is just doom scrolling on Twitter and the news. The news is really compelling these days. You're probably listening to this a few weeks. It's going to be after the inauguration, but right after the insurrection at the Capitol and the riots down in Washington D.C. And I'm pretty close to Washington D.C. My partner and I have very different political views, and there's other people in my family with different political views, and I'm trying to keep up on things because I want to be able to have these conversations. But I also have a day job, so I really can't keep up that much. So in between tasks, in between coaching calls, in between podcasts, in between things that I'm doing, I'm doom scrolling, or I'm just like it's just so compelling. The dopamine hits on the news are off the charts. And I started thinking about this. It's funny because the news used to be you got the newspaper in the morning and you read the newspaper with breakfast, or you read the newspaper with lunch. Then you came home and you watched the 6 o'clock news. If you were really interested in the news, you watched 2020 or 60 Minutes. But that was it. That was what you got for the news. What you read in the morning, what you saw in the evening news, and maybe the news magazine that you watched. And that was pretty much it. Maybe you got Time Magazine or Newsweek or something to go a little more in depth. But that was how we consumed all that was going on in the world. Then we invented CNN and Fox News and MSNBC and cable news and 24/7. And I remember Jon Stewart talking about how they just had to fill 24 hours of compelling viewership. They just had to keep bringing things more and more viscerally so that we would watch 24/7. And that cable news really learned how to get our attention. So now we're not just getting our news at the newspaper in the morning or at 6 o'clock at night when Walter Cronkite was on. Those of you who remember Walter Cronkite or Tom Brokaw, um, Dan, man, I can't remember his name now. Anyway, now we have 24/7 news. Now we don't have to even read the newspaper because every time you turn on the TV, you can see whatever the news is. Now let's update that even faster, and the news is coming fast and furious on our phones. And people are trying to make news, and that's the other thing. People are trying to make news fast and furious on our phones. All these people with these Twitter accounts are trying to keep us engaged. So they'll say inflammatory, we have a president who got people's attention by being inflammatory. Whether you liked him or not, one of the ways he got attention was by saying outrageous things. And it was just so compelling. And then the rebuttals to the outrageous thing. So now with Twitter and the news and trying to make headlines, uh, to get elected, to make money, to do anything is to get our attention. People spend billions and billions of dollars to figure out how to get our attention. So I started thinking about that. And it's like, I don't curate my no news time. This morning while I was meditating, I was like, oh, I don't decide. I can absolutely, scroll Twitter. I can absolutely go to all the news sites. I can absolutely do that. But I let them dictate when it's going to happen through alerts, through the compelling dopamine hits and all that stuff, rather than me saying, oh, I guess for lunch, for a half hour during lunch, I'm going to kind of catch up on things. I don't decide that I'm going to do things at a certain time. So I don't put a timer on it. I don't put a timer on my desk and say, okay, Mark, you can scroll Twitter, have at it. You can scroll Facebook and catch up with all your friends, have at it, but for 20 minutes, right? I don't do that. Where it used to be automatically done for us. Before we had cell phones, we could get in the car and listen to the news or listen to the radio and just be alone for a little while. Then we got cell phones and we're working in the car. So I started thinking about my day. Then I started thinking about, the ADD is just off the charts. And, I don't really believe in ADD, but I do believe in ADD. I had Dr. L on the podcast, and he talked about how ADD is on the spectrum with autism. The way my brain works with ADD, is on the spectrum. So there is something going on in my brain waves that make me intuitive, makes me insightful, makes me creative, but makes it so I can't add a column of numbers. Um, and I started thinking about alcoholics. Alcoholics drink. Alcoholics are just compelled to drink. It is a disease. It's a disease of the mind. It's a disease of addiction. But then I've been sober for 31 years. You would never know I'm an quote unquote alcoholic because I don't drink, right? Once I take a drink, then things change. So the ADD thing for me is kind of like alcoholics. When I do my only tens, when I am maniacally focused on my tens, when I really practice my own program, you would never know I was ADD because I get so much done, so much, and what's really important to me. I love the in Niall's book, Nyr's book, uh, Indistractible, how to control your attention and choose your life and choose your life. And he talks about distraction is what takes you away from your life, what you want to do, how you want to create your life. So for me, I'm really spending time thinking about how am I exercising? What am I doing when I'm exercising? How am I feeding myself with information? Am I watching news while I'm exercising? Am I listening to music? Am I fostering things? Am I bringing my phone to the bathroom? What am I doing to my nervous system to help it so that I can be a sober alcoholic, so I can be a sober ADD person? If I'm scrolling every time I'm off a phone call, if I'm checking news, if I'm doing those things, I'm just adding to my ADD alcoholism. But if I'm centered and grounded and paying attention to where I'm putting my attention, then the ADD is in remission, and nobody would ever know that I have ADD. So this is the things that I'm thinking about. So look at your own life. I really want you to foster looking at your own life. Where are you adding to your own stress levels? We want to be informed. We want to know what's going on. We don't want to do the spiritual bypass, the head in the sand thing that things aren't going on and we shouldn't pay attention to them. But do we have to be all consumed? And now the hard decisions to put a news site or a social media blocker on our um, laptops and on our phones, the hard things to put a timer on the desk and say, I will do those things for this amount of time, right? Netflix does that thing where it just runs into the next show so that you binge watch shows where you're not being conscious. There's nothing inherently wrong with Netflix or watching TV. It's when we mindlessly do that for longer than we intended to do it, when we get lulled into the technology that is there specifically to keep our attention. That's the problem. So where in your life, like I did this morning, I am going to consume news, but I'm going to consume news on my terms. And again, I'm going to fall off the wagon. I always fall off the wagon with food, with attention, with anything. But since I started only tens, I know how to get back on the wagon. I know how to get back to having my attention mean something. And then I have long periods of time where I'm really productive, where I've taken back my life and I'm doing what I want to do. So where again in your life can you just shut things off, leave the phone in the other room, turn off the TV, turn off the laptop? Where can you do your 2 hours of deep work, 1 hour of deep work? For me, again, it's really important to do the meditation because then I can sit in my own body. One of the problems, one of the reasons why I like those dopamine hits is because it's hard to sit in my own body. But the more I meditate, the more I journal, the more I'm introspective, the more I can sit with my own uncomfortable feelings. And I don't need to get those dopamine hits outside of me. So that's what I'm struggling with these days, especially with just the compelling events in the world. But I really, no matter what's going on in the world, I watch these creators on Twitter. I watch people who seemingly are completely ignoring the news and just keep their head down and keep working and creating and doing things. Um, I don't know about the head in the sand thing, but no matter what's going on in the world, you still have a living to make, you still have things to create, you still have children to take care of, you still have responsibilities, and you still have things you want to do. So don't let them steal your life. It's not worth it. That's my soapbox for today. By the way, we're putting all of the interviews, all of the Mastering Midlife, we're at 260, 270 episodes of Mastering Midlife on YouTube. If you want to see my guests speak, if you want to see me speak, because I look so good doing it, and my friend Mary cuts my hair and looks great. No, but if you want a visual with captions, go to YouTube. Just Google Mark J. Silverman YouTube, and you'll find me, and you'll see all the interviews as we put them up there, captioned and visually, so you can see us having the conversations. Love to hear your comments. Love to hear what you think of what we're doing here. And if there's any subjects you want me to cover, please let me know. I love you guys a ton, like a real ton, like a real lot. That's why I do this. I am bursting with love for you, and if I can just move the needle just a little bit every time we have this conversation, it means a ton to me. Have a great rest of the day.